So since they can't regulate it themselves, the temperature and everything is really what allows them to be able to digest their food and everything. So if they have a big drop in that, then obviously, if you're already taking a month to digest all of the food that's in you, then it can be pretty detrimental to the sloth. Now in the wild, if there were to be, scarce amount of food for whatever reason, or if the acclimated, the temperature and everything was to start going crazy, which is pretty regulated in the rainforest if you think about it, but if there was a time of scarce food or anything like that, they can go into what's called torpor, which is, some people think of it as hibernation, but it's more so like an adaptive trait that they've developed to be able to basically shut down all of the minor things like, really decrease their heart rate. Their heart rate's already like 20 beats a minute, so a lot less than a person. You think about a person's like 80, 80 beats per minute. And so it definitely is a lot slower. When they enter the torpor, it can go even lower than that. And so everything really slows way down during times like that. And if their temperature or if the food was not to come back readily available, then it could actually lead to their demise. So if a sloth can actually pass away with a full belly, a full belly of food, just because they can't digest it if the temperature drops too low. So they're definitely really sensitive to things like that.
That's why I want to go out.
Yeah. I think you guys got 30 minutes total. It's been it's been about 18 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you want to switch over.
Yes, I got to show you.
Sweet.
You want that, Zoe? Oh, honey.
So when she was a baby, her cue word was not like that, and that little plushie that's behind you is what she would transfer onto. When we first got her, she was much smaller than she is now, but that plushie more so just gets into people's way now.
Sure.
You see who wants to see you? Look here. And if she were to ever get too tight around your shoulders or anything, you can just tap her little paw just to remind her to loosen up. Because for them, their relaxed state is like our stress state. So you think about it, it takes energy for us to have to do something like this. But for them, this is their relaxed state. And to actually straighten their arms out is their stress state. So sometimes she just forgets that this kind of hurts.
Yeah.
And she has to be reminded.
She's sweet.
And I'm sure you've seen pictures of sloths in the wild that look like they have the perpetual smile and kind of masks on their face. Those are our three-toed sloths.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have a little bit shorter faces as well. And I'm sure you've also seen, pictures of having moss and algae and things like that all down the sloths, and they look really gross in the wild. In captivity, we don't have that because it's not such a wet environment.
Yeah.
And so if you were to actually look at a sloth's hair under the microscope, it has all these tiny little micro cracks in them that allows the rain to get trapped in there and cause a lot of moisture and everything. And that's what creates such a good environment for algae and bacteria and stuff like that to grow on in the wild. And so in the rainforest, that's really important for them to maintain that ecosystem that stays on their back all the time, because it's really good camouflage for them. So if you were to look up at the canopy of the rainforest from the bottom, they would be virtually impossible to see unless they were skedaddling down a branch.
Yeah.
And only time they really skedaddle down a branch is if something's after them.
Yeah.
And so their goal, if anything is coming at them in the wild, their goal is just get to the end of the branch, get to the end of the branch. And once they get to the end of the branch, you only got so much branch.
How fast can they move if they need to?
I'm not sure exact speeds, on the ground, they're very much arboreal animals, so they stay in the treetops, but if they were, to fall out of the tree or something like that, then they would be on the ground, and their fastest way of movement is actually by water, so they're very good swimmers compared to walking or crawling. They're only really like they kind of army crawl if they're on the ground, so they're very inefficient moving when they're on the ground like that. that, but in water, they can get at it.
She's just content.
She is. So both of our babies that we have here were bred, they were clicker trained as babies. And so the mothers kind of know the routine. And so the breeder would come up and make a little clicker noise, borrow baby for like 10, 15 seconds when they're really newborn, and then give mom a treat or something like that. And then they give baby right back. And so every day that time increases just a little bit more, a little bit more. And so it acclimates, yes, it acclimates the babies to be able to be used to holding on to people and things like that. So they,
Pandas, if you give a panda food, it'll give you its baby.
yeah. Yeah.
I should have done that. Just kidding. Just kidding.
And his sloth Zero that he got was actually an injured sloth from the wild that could not be returned to the wild. And so with our education and our services and everything that we have here with our encounters, we hope that it will be enough of a sloth fix and a good amount of education that you would know that if you were to ever go on a cruise ship or anything and get off and you have a little roadside petting zoo set up there with a sloth, those sloths have unethically been brought from the rainforest, dumped in a bucket of bleach water to get all the algae and everything off of them. Their teeth often are pulled so they don't have the opportunity to bite someone, and those sloths virtually, they have about 2 weeks, to live after that point. And so it's
We
very,
go on a lot of cruises, but we're not doing a
Yeah.
lot of cruises.
and a lot of people just don't know. That's something that they've never been taught. And so the conservation efforts over there, the conservancy agency, their job is to tell people, don't touch sloths, don't hold sloths, don't touch sloths, don't hold sloths. And so here, obviously these are much different animals because they are not wild. So if you think about the difference between bringing in your house cat and bringing in a feral cat that you found on the side of the road, it's a completely different story. And so these animals have been bred to be ambassador animals, which means that before they leave the program there, the breeding program that he has, they have to pass a final ambassador test, which means that they actually enjoy being held by people. So given the opportunity between having to be held by someone or going back to wherever they're comfortable, they would rather be held by someone. And you can see that because when I go to pick her back up later, if I don't come back out of the room quick enough, she'll start climbing after me.
Yeah.
Yes. And so when she was a baby, we almost named her Oof, because a lot of times when we go to put her back down, she'd go oof, 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 and start reaching back up for you. And so baby Dash, he does a similar thing, but we put him back down in his little basket and he just wants to climb back up at you. And if you're standing there holding him and you're right next to the basket, he has no desire to get back into the basket. I mean, he may, reach around and play around a little bit, but he would much rather be hanging on to somebody than be back in his little basket.
Now, do you all, like at the end of the day, are they put up for the night or does somebody have to periodically check on them through the night?
Well, we have cameras that Kevin, he's really bad about checking all of them through the night just because he wants to see what they're doing. And another big fear of ours is like if somebody were to accidentally leave that outdoor door open, and it gets really cold out there through the night, then it can be pretty detrimental to their health. And so he checks those quite often, but yeah, during the night they just stay in their little enclosures in there. And during the daytime we'll open it up and Flash, he'll go outside to chill out there for a little while if he wants to.
Gotcha.
But all of our sloths, their encounters are done on their own time. And so when we first started doing encounters with Flash, we started it at 10 o'clock because that's what time he chose to come down and started to interact with us. And so I get here around 9:30 in the morning, and I come in here and already at 10 o'clock, he's really banging on that glass. I'm
ready to get out.
Tap,
Aww.
tap, wanting to get out. And
Do you all
interact
have
with
most
people.
days, like people booked
Oh,
to
yeah.
spend time with them?
Yes, we stay pretty much booked, and the thing about our time that we spend with our sloths is that we're very guarded of their schedule. And so if their schedule is that we want to start at 10 o'clock or they want to start at 10 o'clock, that's the time we start.
Yeah.
And so if there were to ever be a day where he didn't want to come down and he did not want to interact for whatever reason, then that would totally be his decision.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times you see, you'll see advertising for drop-in sloth encounters. and things like that. It's really hard for, people especially, we're really, we run a routine, we want a schedule, we wanna know what's going on, and they're the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanna know what time they're gonna be fed, what time they're gonna be held, and they start to develop those schedules and say, usually 10:30 is her first encounter. And so if nobody's booked for 10:30, she's already in there kind of.
Somebody's got the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it would be really difficult for them to just have a,
So I
random
guess if
schedule.
you're not
Yeah.
booked, you gotta come in here and
Yeah.
hold her.
Yes. It's a rough life.
Yes.
And that is another one of our jobs, is to let people know how much work and effort and research and everything that goes into owning a sloth. And so owning a sloth as a pet is not a good idea ever, because it is so difficult to keep everything just right for them. And if something was thrown off just a tiny bit, then it's really hard for them to bounce back from that. And so there's no reputable breeder in the United States that would sell to the general public that wanted a sloth. And if there is, then they're not bred the right way.
Yeah.
And they just don't care about, you can imagine, we had Flash, she was our first one that we got. But when we started to get our babies, Zoe and everything, we went through a lot of questioning, a lot of seeing how we had everything set up, what our knowledge was on sloths and everything, just to be able to get her, because he wanted to really be sure that we knew what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't imagine. I was taking care of a dog before.
Yeah.
Had to make all kinds of arrangements for us to stay away 2 nights.
Are you guys staying here?
Yeah.
Yeah, which, unit?
The baby wagon.
Okay,
Yeah, we like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool.
It's neat. He has, you wouldn't know it, he has debilitating anxiety, and so he usually won't do much outside of the house.
Yeah.
And so my husband and his brother went to the Indy 500, and I was like, well, we need to do something while they're gone. So everything I mentioned, no. And then I found this place, I was like, you wanna do this? He was like, sure.
Yeah, sloths, I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
So I was like, then I'm booking it. I'm booking it. It's something you'll do. Bad brothers think they're having a better time than me, but I think we're having a better time.
Definitely. Do you have anything else booked for today?
We have a whole day of stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
What we got planned?
So we already did Hugga Highland,
Yeah.
then we came to this. Next we have farm tour and animal encounter with kangaroos. Then at 6 we do mini moon, and then at 6:30 we do baby kangaroos.
Oh my God.
So we have a day.
You have got everything. I think
Yes.
the farm tour is definitely a lot of people's favorites, just
Oh,
because
good.
you get to see everything on the farm.
Yeah.
Besides the sloths. The sloths
Yeah.
are really the highlight of the
Yeah.
place. That's really what everybody comes for. But yeah, the farm tour, you get to see every animal on the
Gotcha.
place. So that's pretty nice.
It had gotten rearranged, which was fine. Like I got an email, and it was like, hey, we have this field trip, so some of this stuff is at different times, and
Yeah.
so we rearranged it, and I was fine with that.
Yeah.
But then after it all got rearranged, I come home from work and I said, they rearranged our schedule, and they have a 6:30 baby kangaroo slot. So we can shoot it all. We can just do it all.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty new here. I'm still learning the ropes, everything. And yesterday was the first time that I bottle fed one of the baby kangaroos. And oh my gosh, I've bottle fed so many things in my life. I mean, I've done squirrels, I've done baby rabbits, I've done, just about every kind of bottle raising something or other. I've at least tried it.
Yes.
But nothing is
Compared to
like
the
those
kangaroos.
kangaroos. I mean, it's like a trance. They just close their eyes. Some of them want to hold your hand while they're nursing. It is the best thing ever.
And the Highland cows today were,
Yeah.
they were coming at it.
Yeah.
So that'll be a big
Yeah.
change when you kangaroos.
It's definitely a big difference, because
Yeah.
they just, I mean, it's not like they don't buck, like the
Yeah.
cows do or anything.
Yeah.
And the nipples on the syringe that you give them are actually really long, because it's similar to the ones that they have in their pouch. So the mother's nipple is very
yeah.
long like that. And so for the first, like 5 months of their lives in the pouch, they basically like swallow that whole nipple, and they keep it in their esophagus like that. And so the bottles are similar to what they have in their pouch.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we're excited too when we go back for the mini moon, because we get to feed the Highland cows again, and she's gonna let us help put them up. So
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, it's like if we're doing it, we're doing it all.
exciting, yeah. Zozo, you fell asleep right when we're.
Yeah.
Honey. Hey, you wanna go back
you so much. This has been great.
Go back to your room.
So, get out of your way. Yeah, I'll trade with you, that way I can get a little bit more behind it.
Yeah, there you go.
So, come on, girl.
She just reaches and puts her arms around you. How sweet is that?
You guys can watch how I put her back up into the room
Yes.
too. Let's see if we can angle this way. Alright, so. He has all his cameras everywhere. She says that's her time in a little panic right here. But she'll slowly reach back.
Look at her.
Like I said, if I spend too much longer in here, she'll start coming at me through these branches.
Yeah, if you're gonna be in here, you're gonna be holding
Uh-huh.
me. Well, this has been fabulous. Thank you so
No
much.
problem. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
We definitely
And you will-
did.
Yeah, you'll definitely have a good rest of your day too.
Yes, thank you. We are
You're
excited.
welcome. We'll go back out here and hit these hand sanitizers real
Yes.
quick. Sorry.
You guys enjoy it?
Loved it.